Welcome to the Modern Manifestation Podcast. I'm your host, Bree Brown, a business mindset coach, entrepreneur, and a top competitor in a male-dominated industry. I'm a native Texan, the youngest of all brothers, and a lettuce-hating, wine-loving, curses-like-a-sailor recovering perfectionist. I've spent over a decade building my commission-based career, and my life's purpose is helping other women achieve the same multi-six-figure success I achieved before I was 25. I have a passion for helping women with mindset, money, and manifestation skills to help every young woman realize her full potential. If you're looking for vulnerable conversations, professional development, inspiration, or even a kick in the ass to get you motivated, you have come to the right place. Thanks for checking out the Modern Manifestation Podcast. Now let's jump right in to today's topic. Hello, my beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Modern Manifestation Podcast. Today, we are continuing our dive into the spiritual laws with the sixth of the universal laws, the law of compensation. But before we get into that, quick update. I will be posting summaries of each of these laws on my Instagram account later this month, so just look for @modernmanifestation, and you'll be able to find a refresher for any of these topics. It took me like 2 years to find out where the show notes were. They're like this mythical thing that I always heard about on podcasts, but I never knew where to go to find the damn things. So I went ahead and I'm going to put them on my Instagram. They're scheduled for later this month. So head over @modernmanifestation. You'll find a summary. That way you don't have to go scrolling for my show notes. But if you are curious about where those are, if you're ever like, I would love to go to some of these links that she's mentioning, but I don't know where the show notes are, you don't have to go searching through them within the podcast app. You can just go to my website, go under the blog, and my blog is my show notes. So everything will be in order of release dates of the actual show, and they'll have the same title minus the numbers. So if you ever just go to my blog, scroll through, look for the title, you will find the show notes associated with the blog. And my blog is essentially my script, so it will more or less follow along with the show pretty well. Okay, so that was my quick little blurb about that. So far, we have covered the 5 of the universal laws: divine oneness, vibration, action, correspondence, and cause and effect. And if this is the first episode you're tuning into of the universal laws, I highly recommend you hit pause and at least go back to episode 59, because these laws are continuing to build upon one another, and there's a whole lot of overlap and a whole lot of crossover. So I think it's helpful to have heard the first 5 laws first. That way you have a really solid foundation as we continue on. So with that, let's jump into the 6th universal law, the law of compensation. The law of compensation states that what you do affects what you get. In other words, you get what you give. Your reality is what you're thinking about in the past. So you will be compensated for everything you do, good and bad. You'll be compensated in a way that matches what you put out there. So all the effort you give, all the actions you take, the things you say, how you feel, all of this will determine how you are being compensated. And if you're continuously making an effort to put good things out into the world, then guess what? That is what you are going to get more of. On the other hand, if you're focusing on talking bad about coworkers or gossiping or complaining about your in-laws or annoyed about traffic, frustrated with money, or any of the life concerns that people have a habit of complaining about, I'm totally guilty of them myself, then the universe will give you more things to complain about. What you put out there, you will receive in return. And if you tuned into the last episode, you're probably like, what? Hold on, Brie. What is the difference between law of cause and effect and the law of compensation? Because they sound pretty damn similar. This was my reaction. I literally had to sit with this when I first learned about these and was like, hold on, what's the difference? They seem very, very similar, if not the same. And the way that I've come to understand the difference between the law of cause and effect and the law of compensation is that the law of cause and effect is basically the action taken to spark change. It's the catalyst. And the law of compensation is the energetic return of those cumulative actions. Or said in another way, law of cause and effect determines our abundance, which is experienced as the law of compensation. You might have to sit with that one for a little bit. Unfortunately, the law of compensation is where a lot of people lose hope in manifestation. Because as a society, we want instant gratification. We want to do all the things, whatever those things are, and then boom, overnight success. And when I say overnight, I don't literally mean overnight. It could be that we're doing all the right things, and 3 months from now, we're like, where is my shit? Or 6 months from now, or a year from now. The timing is not up to us. And there is something called a manifestation gap that I'll have to talk about in another podcast episode that we have no control over. It's all about surrendering to the universe, including the timeline it has planned for us. So what many of us have a habit of doing is that we won't experience the success we want in the time frame that we expect to have it. So we experience negative results during this time instead, and then we get discouraged. And then we want to give up because we're like, clearly, the shit isn't working. It's not for me. I knew it was bullshit. No harm, no foul. I'm just going to move on with my life. This manifestation thing is total crap. I have had those moments before. And I think I would have manifested the things I wanted a lot sooner had I realized that the law of compensation can be a great way to point out to you that something's not right. There's something not in alignment because you're clearly not experiencing the results of something that you want. Your physical reality is an expression of your past actions and beliefs. And to change it, you have to adopt new actions and new beliefs. But no one ever said the result of your actions would be an instantaneous change. And I use instantaneous lightly. 3 months, 6 months, there's no guarantee on the timeline. And I don't know if this is like the universe's way to ensure that change is permanent or if it's just the way we experience time, if it's some sort of test. Like, I have no idea. That's not for me to know. But there always seems to be a delay for the big things that we want. So while you're waiting for those things to manifest based on the new beliefs and the new habits that you've instilled, just remember that what you do affects what you get. So if you continue to do the right things and you continue to do the things that you know will make you successful, then it is inevitable. Your success is inevitable. So if you do not like what you're getting now, change what you're putting out there. The universe doesn't judge, and you're being compensated appropriately for what you've put out into the world as an adult. So how you're showing up is what you're getting back. This is why they say dress for the job you want, because when you start showing up that way, that is what you generate. So if you look around yourself and you do not have a life that is representative of what you want, then take a moment to check in. Check in to see if you're in alignment with the other laws. This is how you can use the law of compensation to make sure that everything is flowing in the right way. So are you applying all of the other universal laws equally? Is there something out of balance? If your compensation does not match what you're putting out into the world, then something else isn't right. Something else isn't in alignment. So allow this to be your little litmus test. Look for signs that you're on the right path. And examples of these kinds of signs could be seeing more positive stories on your newsfeed and not noticing the negative stories as much, or seeing more beauty, finding more good in the world and less bad, becoming more of a half full rather than a half empty person. And when it comes to our utilizing this law on a personal level, the type of cause or the type of catalyst that we put out into the world can also determine the type of experience we get. So if we put out negativity into the world, that is what we get back. If we're putting out jealousy into the world, that is what we're getting back. Anxiety will create more uncertainty. Jealousy will create more jealousy. Healthy habits will create a healthier life. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be specific to the part of your life that you're applying this effort toward. We talked about that in the last episode. Remember? Overlap? The negativity you experience at work can translate into your relationships or your health, and vice versa. I see this a lot with people whenever they have issues with self-love of their body. If you experience negativity toward yourself, your body, your temple, that can bleed over into other parts of your life. So it's a really important reminder. This law serves as a great reminder for us to take a holistic look at ourselves and say, where am I not showing up for myself? Where can I be a little bit more positive? What habits can I instill in order to make sure that I'm on the right track for the things that I want to manifest. The lens that you choose to see the world through will dramatically affect your experience within this life. Perception matters more than you think. And looking at this logically, it makes sense that how you operate within the world, as either a generally positive or negative person, will determine how you perceive the world. And we refer to this all the time as the person that has a half glass full or half full, half empty. You know what I mean, that expression. If you feel that the world is abundant, then you will have more abundance. And if you believe the world is cruel and unfair, then you will experience more disappointment and cruelty. Unfortunately, this is why some people can view themselves as a victim in their life because of past experiences, and then continue to hold on to that narrative. I am a victim, the world is cruel, life is unfair to me. And they continue to call that to them so that they continue to be the victim. That's one of the sad ways that this law can play out, but you're calling to yourself what you expect. And if you can change your perception, so if that person that had that victim mindset could say, I was a victim, I am now a creator for the life that I want, that change in perception will allow them to start seeing things differently. And that paints the picture of the world that you live in, and that could be the catalyst for change. A great quote that reminds me of this law comes from Wayne Dyer, and I know I've said it before in this podcast, but I'm going to say it again because I can't get enough of it. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When your perception changes, so does your reality. And that can be instantaneous. If you're in a shitty mood, shitty things tend to happen to you. You know, it's like that expression says, when you start your day on the wrong side of the bed. When you're in a really positive mood and you're expecting good things, you tend to internalize things more positively. Instead of taking that smile as a smirk in someone judging you, it's a smile of appreciation. All it is a person smiling, but the way you internalize that meaning relates back to your perception. And how you're experiencing that reality is what you're manifesting. And it becomes a lot easier to manifest the things you want when you operate in a more positive reality. And all you have to do is change that perception, shift that perception to one that is more positive. So as an example, let's say that you hate mornings. This was totally me in the past. So you're not a morning person and there isn't enough time in the day. And with this mindset, you might wake up every morning after hitting snooze 6 times and then dreading your lack of time. And the first thing you do is check social media aimlessly. And then you start stressing over all the things you need to do. Then you begin shoulding all over yourself. And finally, you get out of bed, you're already worrying about being late to work, or maybe you're already behind. Maybe you have to skip breakfast, and you're already kicking yourself because you didn't get up for a morning walk or yoga or meditation or like whatever that was. You're going to have a very different experience in life every day if that's your routine. And I pretty much described exactly who I was 5 years ago. And I was constantly setting myself up for failure from the moment I woke up because my routine was not founded in what I perceived as success. Whereas if you believe that mornings are wonderful opportunities and you get a jump start on a productive day, you immediately jump out of bed before your alarm clock or like with the first one, and you work out, you meditate, you time block, you eat breakfast, you enjoy the mornings, you get ready, you're singing, you're dancing, you have all the time in the world, you get an early start to wherever you're going. You will start each day with a much different energy. Now think for a moment how you normally start your day. And think about how that kicks off everything that happens afterward. When you start your day and you're feeling good, that usually means that you have a good day. If you start the day and you're feeling crappy, that usually means that you have an overall crappy day. So what can you do in the morning to kickstart the day toward a day that you want to experience? What can you do each morning to set yourself up for that sort of success? Because you attract to you what you already are. You become what you think about most. And your thoughts and behaviors create your emotions. And your emotions are your energy in motion. You're manifesting your identity and you're being compensated fairly for it, even if it doesn't seem that way. The law of compensation is black and white. It doesn't judge. It has no perception of fairness. It just delivers what you're putting out there. So to utilize the law of compensation to your advantage, think about how you can show up differently or better. How can you help today? How can you show kindness? Who could you send more love to? What would bring more joy to someone else's day? What you put out there, you will receive in return. So what can you put out there that you want back? Get creative with it. I would love to hear how this works out for you guys. So when you start experiencing success with this, please send me a DM. Let me know what you did and let me know what you got back in return. I love hearing y'all's stories. Thank y'all so much for tuning in with me today. That is the 6th of the universal laws. We will continue next week with the 7th. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will catch y'all next Monday. Until then, go out there and manifest some miracles. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this podcast, hit subscribe so you can stay up to date with new episodes. As always, we would love it if you would share this episode with friends and family who could use the inspiration. As a new podcast show, we would really appreciate your honest feedback so I know what you like and what you could use more of. As a thank you for leaving us a rating, we will send you our 7 weekly tips to create space for abundance. Make sure you screenshot your review and email it to us at hello@themodernmanifestation.com so we can send them straight to your inbox. If you'd like to stay connected, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Modern Manifestation, or you can head to our website at themodernmanifestation.com. Thanks again for joining me, and I will catch y'all in the next episode.